In South Africa, Pele literally supported political prisoners on Robben Island and at the dawn of democracy did avail himself to late former President Nelson Mandela's reconciliation and sports-related efforts. Former Premier of Gauteng and member of the FIFA 2010 Organising Committee, Sexwale, joins us now to take us down memory lane. Mr. Sexwale, thank you so much for your time indeed on the agenda this morning. So please take us through the very first time when you met this legend of an icon.
Well, honestly, good morning and good morning to everybody around the world or wherever they are on this New Year's Eve. Sadly, we're talking about the passing of Pele, the Nascimento, a very great star. When did I meet him for the first time? Physically, much later after our release from prison. But psychologically, philosophically, we're in touch with him whilst he was campaigning against racism and discrimination in the world. He personified the struggle for equality both on and off the sport field. We followed his progress when we got a chance to be given certain films and certain videos and later television on Robben Island. And then, of course, he did send some messages through people for support to us when he knew that we were playing football on Robben Island, which was captured in the film called More Than Just a Game. Physically, we met after our release from Robben Island. I met him in London for the first time. And secondly, it was to meet him with Madiba here in South Africa in 1995 when a special game was organized for Nelson Mandela.
Now, interestingly, Mr. Sexwale, during the fight against apartheid, he sent some messages of encouragement, to the political prisoners and came to visit at the dawn of democracy. Now, he continued with his unwavering support as well. Take us through this, sustained support and what actually motivated it.
Well, like all of us who were of a different color to other people who were colonialists in the world, Pele was black. But he was black externally. Black inside in the fight against discrimination, as I said, worldwide. He personified the struggle against discrimination and racism by being the first of his color to play for the national team in Brazil. He was scorned, he was mourned, he was mistrusted when he came in at the age of 17. They thought he was a mascot. That's what he says in his book when he entered the field. At the time, I think they were playing in Switzerland or France, I don't remember, but somewhere in Europe. They thought he was just a dummy, and they were surprised at what the 17-year-old was able to achieve. Therefore, Pele represents the Mandelas of the world, the Muhammad Ali's, Tiger Woods, the Williams sisters. In other words, up from slavery, people come from the ghetto who stand up, but it doesn't have to be a black color. There are many white people who themselves have been discriminated for all sorts of reasons. So Pele represents that type of a thing. I think what is important, and it's always must be instructive, this thing, it's not just to talk about people, Pele did this, he did that, is the inspiration that the young people of today who are playing all types of sports, the current players as well, to derive from his life example and his life action. So Pele was a gentleman off and on the playing field and became an international ambassador against discrimination and peace worldwide. He has been everywhere, wherever there was a need for him to take a position. The good thing is that, much as he was 82, much as he was going to demise, he was able to see for the last time something that made him one of the greatest people in the world, the World Cup at Qatar. When the news came whilst we were in Doha, that he was now in hospital. There was a somber mood, but there was also celebration. I met some of the players of Brazil, former players who were sitting with us, and whilst people were sad, they accepted the fact that this gentleman, this iconic leader, has played his role. The inspiration that young people must get, and the current players, is that of learning from his method and his example.
Indeed, Mr. Sexwale. And, you know, speaking of the late President Nelson Mandela, Pele also came to give us support at the 89th birthday with that huge game in Cape Town, pitting an all-African team against an international team. I can tell you that moment was sheer euphoria. Take us through those moments.
I didn't know that you were going to ask me that question. This is one of the 4 balls which were produced by Adidas at our request at the Nelson Mandela Foundation. It's approved by FIFA. It was produced by Adidas. It's one of the 4. Madiba kept 1. FIFA took 1. Pele had 1. And I was allowed to keep this one. As you can see, I don't know if it's going to come across very well. The number is 46664. And Pele came to support this at the time the game was given to Nelson Mandela. By FIFA players, representing the international players as well as African players. He also came to hand over a T-shirt of the Brazilian team to Nelson Mandela. So it was a great moment for Pele to be here. He could not play himself, but the likes of Eto'o, I saw you showed Eto'o, and others were able to play. They came from across the world because once the name Nelson Mandela is mentioned, the sporting people, international movie celebrities, FIFA people, international IOC people, they all move, they flock. So Mandela became a kind of a measure to people, not just celebrities, but ordinary people who were calling his name from wherever he was in the sporting field. So he used football. He played football. He successfully manipulated the situation positively to take it beyond just being an ordinary game, just being what he called the beautiful game, and made football to become something that people get inspired to, but use it also to go over hurdles.
Now, Mr. Sexwale, you also started a movement against racism in sport. This was also at a time when racism was a hot potato in sport. It continues to be one throughout today as well. And now this organization is called Global Watch. And here again, Pele did come to support. Perhaps talk to us about the support that you took in from this legend.
Well, when we launched Global Watch, which achieved the objective of galvanizing people and making them, together with other campaigns against racism, to be alert and aware and to stand up in solidarity. He is one of the first people we contacted. We had heads of states, we had Kofi Annan, we had people like Thabo Mbeki in South Africa, we had people like Kathrada and so on. I was the founder and chairman of that group of Say No to Racism. And Pele, on a phone call, when I said, I want your voice, he said, Tokyo, you have my face, whatever you want, I'll come. And of course, we met later at Zurich, at the FIFA headquarters, and he gave his name. He showed solidarity with all those who are suffering, not just on the sporting field, but not just on the soccer field, but throughout areas of the world where racism was raising its own head. Therefore, the example of Pele in today's world, where other people are still suffering this day, it's not as acute as it was at the time when they started Global Watch, but that example needs to be followed. And people must stand all the time in solidarity to say no to racism, the Pele way. So Pele was more than just football. He was a gentleman, he was an officer, he was a good man of the field, and he was a campaigner. He provided hope, and he stood against racism and discrimination in football, in society, as was expected of him.
Now, Mr. Sexwale, just to seal these reflections on this legend right now, I want to know from you, how do you think Pele should be remembered?
Well, I've already said his method, his example, his way of life, way beyond the tactics that he introduced on the soccer field, because this twist and turns, the style that we see in Brazil today, which is followed by the likes of Neymar and them, the style that you see with the Mbappes of the world, the style that you see with Messi just across the border from Brazil in Argentina. These are tactics that were introduced by that 17-year-old who won 3 times the World Cup. So that can be learned from him. But most importantly, in life, because Pele was beyond that. By the way, many people forget that he also was appointed as Minister of Sport, if I think, in Brazil at one time. beyond the politics where he was. It is to learn from him that no matter how difficult the odds are, you can rise from the ghetto, from the favelas or Sao Paulo to a global stage where you should use your influence, the power that you have, in order to give positivity. This is a message that should go through to young players, although he's old, like Ronaldo from Portugal. These are people who learn from him. Therefore, Ronaldo and others be gentlemen both on and off the field, but associate with human causes and campaign that can bring justice, equality, and all sorts of good things. It's not just about money to others across the world. So his legacy is that, the legacy of being a campaigner, because you play football, you get tired, and it's all over. But beyond that, people expect to see somebody iconic off the sporting field, whether the player is now in a wheelchair, like Tiger Woods cannot walk properly anymore, but he still remains that icon. Be positive and give hope and stand for causes which are related to justice, to equality across the world.
Mr. Sexwale, I have to thank you so much for your time on the agenda. That's Tokyo Sexwale, FIFA 2010 Organizing Committee member, as well as, just talking to us there on Pele's active role against racism.